Welcome to the Delaware County Political News with your host, Larry DeMarco.
We're in a time of political turmoil. I surveyed people a little older than me and asked them if this is what the 60s were like, and everyone says it's worse. We're a divided nation. Partisan politics have crippled our governments, and we seem to hate each other. Just listen to Senators Lott and Daschle talk about it.
The engine of Washington's politics and governance is no longer working. The percent of people who trust government has gone down dramatically and is now at an historic low. The level of dysfunction and political polarization has never been greater.
Reached a point now where the dysfunction and the lack of cooperation and the failure to compromise to get a good result for our country has just gone away.
The government let us down, and we don't trust it anymore. Government scandals are as old as time, but they seem to be getting worse and more painful. Here's some examples. 2000, Bush v. Gore took away our faith in the Supreme Court. The winner of the presidency went to the loser of the election, and the decision to award the presidency was split along party lines, decided by the one branch of government, the Supreme Court, that was supposed to be apolitical. And then, in 2003, the Iraq War. It was started based upon lies of weapons of mass destruction. The U.S. was brought into a war based upon fraud. It cost trillions of dollars, thousands of lives, and gave birth to ISIS, an enemy we still fight today. Next, in 2008, the economic bailout. Banks that are too big to fail made criminal financial decisions, caused the stock market collapse, and then received a multi-billion-dollar bailout. The executives got million-dollar bonuses because they hold the U.S. economy hostage, and the problem still is not corrected. The Citizens United case. That Supreme Court case cemented the ability for billionaires to purchase elections if you're the highest bidder. The reasoning? Corporations are people with the right of free speech. And most recently, the 2016 presidential election. The press told us it was the battle of the user of the unauthorized email server versus the crotch grabber. Now the office of the presidency is polling at an all-time low. Confidence in our government is at an all-time low, and the role of money in government is at an all-time high. And the difference between the rich and the poor has never been wider. One thing a brutal 2016 presidential election taught us is that the media has its own agenda. For instance, the people need to know about the issues, but the press just wants to sell a story for expensive advertising. The press's ultimate purpose is to make money. The media is partisan as well. For example, there's Fox News for the ultra-conservative, and there's the mainstream media for the liberal progressives. Just like our politicians are polar opposites of the left and right, so is the media. We've lost the in-between. During this time of political unrest, there has been radical technological change and also extreme social change. Now, everyone's got a computer, even the poor. We've got a computer at home, a computer in our hand, and cheap access to the internet too. This computer age brought social media websites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, other platforms too, which allows us to network with friends across the country and people around the world. It's this change in technology and the ability to communicate which gives solutions in politics where there was none before. Although we're fed up with government, the media, and billionaire banks who control the economy and our elections, technology is now a great equalizer. We now have the power to bring political change through access to this huge amount of information, this new ability to network with great ease. We just need to take action. With technology and the internet, you don't need $1 billion, and you don't need a media company to get a message out. With just a few steps, our messages are connected with each other through a great network for free. Let me repeat this again. We now have access to enormous amounts of information. a heightened ability to network with each other. We just need to take action. Now let's break this down. First, the access to enormous amounts of information. Before computers and the internet, we were dependent upon the major news networks for any information, and there was no other news available. For instance, here in Delaware County, we only had the Delco Times to educate us about the local news, and on rare occasion, the Philadelphia Inquirer. But now we can network on the internet and social media to discuss what's happening, and we're not dependent upon one major news source to control what we learn and what we don't. Second, we have this heightened ability to network with each other. Now it's true we're more isolated because we spend more time at home behind our computer desks, looking at our smartphones rather than talking to each other. Our computer screen is the new socializing rather than face-to-face, flesh-to-flesh. But with this apparent limitation comes opportunity. If we organize our Rolodexes, our social media sites, our contact lists, we have an extremely efficient network similar to a media company. This is actually how the Arab Spring overthrew governments 7 years ago, by networking the entire community with social media. So third, now, we need to take action. Participate in our local elections. Although the major elections, the presidential and the governor races, contain the most sex appeal, it's the local elections that have the most relevance to what matters in life. Let's look at that. It's the local officials who tax our homes, create zoning regulations to restrict the use of our property. It's the school board officials who govern our teachers, who educate our children and control the huge school budgets. Now there are other ones. But most importantly, our judges are elected, and they have 10-year terms. And for some judges, much longer. And they have the most power, too. Please note a most recent example of judicial power. Remember, it's a judge who struck down President Trump's immigration ban is unconstitutional. Judges limit the executive and legislative branch of government, and also limit us. In addition, judges can take your money, your houses, your children, and God forbid, on rare occasion, your life. Despite this huge amount of power, the off-year judicial elections and local elections only draw a fraction of voters than more popular elections draw. We should research judicial candidates to make informed choices in their election. They will hold enormous power over our freedom, and we have them for a long time. In this program, I will provide information about local politics, local government, and how the local races apply to the national news that is currently televised. I hope this information gives you a voting guide, stimulates your interest to get involved in local politics, and encourages you to vote. For a political show, I should disclose to you that I'm a registered Democrat, but my goal is merely to educate, and I share the goal of Senators Lott and Daschle.
What we really want are people committed to doing something, to recognize the many challenges we face, to put aside their partisan bickering, to recognize that there's more than just our partisan bases. Come to Washington with a can-do spirit, that we can actually accomplish a lot, just as our founding fathers did.
However, we don't need to make a difference in Washington. Let's do it here in Pennsylvania and Delaware County. Just like you, I have felt angry, helpless, frustrated, and powerless to change the political climate that has completely turned in favor of the billionaire class. However, I'm confident that the technology will help us facilitate change and stimulate action. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to sharing my next show with you.